Welcome back. And continuing the news, the Ministry of Education says despite seeing an improvement in the results of more than half of CSEC subjects taken this year, Jamaica is still lagging. As we hear in this report, less than a quarter of the 30,000 students who sat exams passed 5 or more subjects. Jamila Maitland reports.
Despite seeing an improvement in passes in 18 of the 34 CSEC subjects taken by Jamaican students in the May-June exams, the Ministry of Education says only 22% of them passed 5 or more subjects.
When we looked at the data yesterday, though we are celebrating, we just had 6,696 students out of our 30,000 passing 5 or more subjects. So we're not satisfied.
40% of the students who took the exam passed math and or English.
When you look at 5 or more with math and or English, we are at 12,124. We're still not touching the 50%. We still have work to do. So though we are celebrating the gains, we are not there yet. Because we must get to the point, as per the trend agenda, where 80% or more of our students can transition to tertiary studies.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Kassan Troop, who was addressing education officers at their annual general meeting in St. James on Thursday, says, though the results are unsatisfactory, it's better than the previous years. She's crediting the success to the ministry's wider transformation agenda, which is being implemented through the Transforming Education for National Development Trend Initiative.
There's a sense of confusion that the ministry is doing only trend. And there is a sense of concern that trend is not the ministry. And so I want to help us to correct that. Trend is the ministry.
Dr. Troop, in drumming up support, says the work could not be possible without the education officers. The Permanent Secretary says there needs to be full buy-in from the officers for the transformation to become effective.
I challenge you, Google any kind of transformation report. So what you see our report organized around the 7 pillars, it's not new either. I have Googled it. You will see other reports coming up from other study software in the same design. So it's not anything novel.
Trend is based on the 365 recommendations of the Education Transformation Commission's 2021 report. The initiative is intended to improve performance across the education system and position Jamaica to become more globally competitive. Now in year 4, Dr. Troop says the focus is on strengthening the capacity, skills, and leadership qualities among stakeholders within the education sector. This way, she says, they can help identify and report on gaps in the sector and address them appropriately. Jamila Maitland, TVJ News.
Poor parenting and kids' bad behaviors. The National Parenting Support Commission says research has found a direct link between the two and is urging parents to get the help they need to better respond to the issues their children face, especially with the new school year just 2 weeks away. Krista Campbell has the details.
In just about 2 weeks, bells will again go off, signaling the start of a new school year. But the same old problems are expected to linger unless parents play a better role in managing their own issues and those their kids face as well. That's according to the National Parenting Support Commission Region 5, which manages Manchester and St. Elizabeth. Parent Place facilitator Adicia Green Marshall says research has found that poor parenting practices contribute to some of the bad behaviors among students that's causing headaches for school administrators and the police.
Parents are not knowledgeable as it relates to how is it that they communicate with their children, especially when there are different developmental stages. We identify that they're having issue communicating, bringing across the information to the child, or just having that genuine sit down and dialogue with the child to identify what are the issues they are facing also. So, and sometimes frustration, being overwhelmed with all the different roles that comes on with being a parent.
I was privy to be at a function last week where we had our young people smoking. They're just smoking. There was no, in terms of concerned that adults are there, etc.
Now, the Social Development Commission, SDC, says it has relaunched an interagency network in Manchester to address an increasing number of social issues affecting parents and children in the parish, like vaping, smoking, and substance abuse. The initiative brings several government agencies together to provide information and guidance to residents on a range of services, from the PATH program to training facilities and utility issues, among others. For her part, Mrs. Green Marshall says research also shows that child abuse and lack of parental involvement are persistent challenges that also affect children's development.
Not only physically damaged, but also emotionally and mentally damaged. And a lot of these goes back to trauma, where children pull adverse childhood experiences, and it causes trauma in their lives, in their relationship, in their interpersonal skills.
As for their performance in school,
their brain just shut off, if I may say. They don't want to be a part. They don't want to be progressive. They are reluctant to go to school. They feel not loved. They feel not appreciated. And the grades fall. When we see grades fall, when we see the punishment being meted out by these, not doing a good job, Tommy might get a proper whopping because he does not do what the parents want him to do, when truth and in fact, his mental capacity can only go to a 60.
She says the Parent Place was created to provide parent workshops, counseling, and other services which are needed to improve parent-child relationships. Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang has provided further details on the status of forces agreement with the United States. Dr. Chang was speaking Thursday on Beyond the Headlines.
The agreement formalizes arrangements governing the presence and activities of U.S. military personnel in Jamaica. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says the status of forces agreement is separate from the wider U.S.-led counter-cartel initiative, which involves cooperation among several countries.
The State of Forces Act is a universal agreement, global agreement with American troops, purely because American troops operate globally, and they don't operate under the legal framework of Visitation of Forces Act. Wherever they go, they have to operate separately. They are just here. They operate in the Melissa. The Chinooks were here all over the island, and this administration insisting that we have established agreement for their forces to operate. It operates it covers them in any activity they do, whether it is a military intervention, as you allude to there, or you have joint training operations, as they do regularly in Jamaica. We go to Panama regularly. For years, we have been doing that. Or those training officers.
He says the agreement provides a framework for U.S. military personnel to operate in Jamaica when their involvement is agreed by the two countries. According to Dr. Chang, that framework can apply to activities ranging from training and disaster response to military operations, depending on the situation.
As they were here in post-Melissa, when they do a lot of work in disaster management, they need a legal framework for their troops to come in and work. Are they going to discontinue that kind of operation? And we are one of the last people to sign on, because we have to examine the legislative changes required to accommodate them. And that's what the State of Forces Act is, one that is established globally, been around for years. We have been working with them for nothing new in it. All it is codifying what we're doing. The coalition against counter-cartel is a different thing, and yes, it overlaps because it provides if they have to operate here.
The National Security Minister says Jamaica currently has the capacity to manage its domestic security challenges without U.S. forces conducting operations on the island. He says, however, that if circumstances were to reach an extreme level, external military assistance could become necessary.
Here's the fact. If somebody took over the whole of St. James and Trelawney, then we might not need external forces. We have demonstrated we don't need external forces for the gang we have here. In fact, as I said, they are looking at us as a model for smaller countries before it gets to that level.
Except this doesn't only speak to training, it speaks to joint operations, which suggests that we are inviting them to come in and operate here on Jamaican soil.
The SOFA, just like the Visitation of Forces Act, which we have the established law, which affects other jurisdictions besides the American, the British and the Canadian, established a framework for their troops to operate in Jamaica.
Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
Opposition leader Mark Golding is taking aim at the government over what he describes as a poor state of the Jamaican economy. Addressing a People's National Party divisional conference in St. Catherine on Thursday, Mr. Golding accused the government of failing to do enough to ease the economic pressures facing Jamaicans and improve their standard of living.
The Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, this week reported a third consecutive quarter of negative growth, a development opposition leader Mark Golding says comes as no surprise. Mr. Golding pointed to the slow pace of recovery following Hurricane Melissa as one of the major factors.
So is there anyone that the economy is so depressed when you have so many people who are suffering? They don't have no money for spend. They don't have any money for drive the economy. Small business suffering, many small businesses get mashed down. Them lose them place, them lose them stock.
And with the possibility of a fourth consecutive quarter of negative growth, the opposition leader says the government must act quickly to stimulate the economy.
This government has a failed economic policy implementing right now, and the people are suffering as a result of it. And comrades, when I think about what needs to be done, we have to transform the Jamaican economy from what it is, which is an economy which is not delivering for the people, to an economy that creates opportunities for people to rise up and achieve their hopes and dreams.
Mr. Golding also raised concern about the rising cost of real estate, arguing that home and land ownership is becoming increasingly out of reach for many Jamaicans. Turning to the issue of squatting and land ownership, Mr. Golding told supporters he has twice attempted to table a private member's bill, the Crown Land Reform Act 2026. The proposed legislation would reduce the adverse possession period for Crown lands from 60 to 25 years and seek to fast-track land titles for communities displaced by natural disasters.
The Speaker blocked me from tabling my bill. So I changed a couple things in it still, because I don't want enough argument about that. Send it back, then block it again. It's not like them get legal advice from the Attorney General's chambers, you know. But them say my bill is unconstitutional.
Mr. Golding says he's determined to have the bill tabled and will be seeking bipartisan support. Janella Precious, TVJ News.
In the meantime, Member of Parliament for St. Catherine Eastern, Denise Daly, says many parents are struggling to make ends meet as they prepare to send their children back to school.
Book list where they must give the children. You cannot buy one of the book, no under earth and in heaven. If you say you want a literate country, how you put poor people under so much pressure? When I look, comrade leader, on some of the school fee, $65,000 for the year. So if you're going to a proper school, almost 100,000 is saying to you, send them go at the ordinary one, because you can pay 5,000 and 10,000. So poor people, picnic, will always remain at the back burner.
Coming up in this newscast, severe storms strike several U.S. states, causing significant damage.